Um, so I guess kind of getting into when was the point where, this happens in pretty much everyone, where either they just decide, you know what, enough's enough, I'm not going to use them anymore, or something happens where they just get stressed out and your skin blows up. What was that point where
Yeah.
it
So I'd
started?
say from like my teenage years up to I must have been like 24, 25 or something like that. So I had normal routine, very very obsessively clean. So I'd
Mm,
shower like sometimes 3 times a day, which as we know now is not a good idea. But I used to shower quite a lot. Just a really clean person. I took pride in my appearance and stuff like that. So every time I finished the shower, I'd have the same routine. So I'd get out, I'd put some kind of moisturizer on. I'd try everything, but
mm.
the one at the time that worked for me was a vino. So
Yeah, yeah.
I put a vino on, then I put steroids on, and then it was which was Betinavate. And I personally thought I didn't think I put that much on, but looking at it now, I did. And then sometimes I'd use like a thick greasy ointment like Hydromol or like an emulsifier, just if it was quite dry. And that was my routine. That was routine every day. And then after I'd done that, like the rest of the day was fine. Like I didn't really itch that much, but
Mm,
obviously because I was on the steroids, I was all right. And then it got, I think, so I lived in an apartment probably about 5 years ago now, and something happened. I had a flare up, and I couldn't put a finger on what it was. And I thought, oh, it's an allergy. It could be like changing something that I cook with, or I've got peanut allergy. So I thought, oh,
mm.
it could be nuts. It could be something like that. And just came out with this rash, and it just did not stop. And I spent it must have been about 6 months thinking, what is going on? Like going to a doctor, blah blah blah. Um, got to a point where I was referred to a dermatologist, which again, I'm sure most people who go through TSW will have encountered all this. Went to a dermatologist and he looked at my skin with a microscope, like into my skin, and he actually said you've got scabies. So this was a shock because, as I said, I'm like really OCD clean. I thought scabies, that's awful, that's disgusting.
Oh,
And if anyone don't know what
yeah,
scabies
what is
is,
scabies?
so it's basically a microscopic mite, like a dust mite kind of thing, but a mite. You can't see it with the eye. It'll fly anyway. And basically it burrows into your skin. And when it burrows into your skin, it lays eggs and they hatch. So basically you just have like hundreds of thousands or whatever of these mites inside your skin. It sounds absolutely disgusting. And you basically have an allergic reaction to the mites. So you're basically itching, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, it makes complete sense. Like I'm itching loads, this is what it is. Right, let's sort it out, kind of thing. So, got to give. It's quite contagious as well.
Mm.
So I don't think I thought at the time I might have picked it up from the gym or um, I don't know
I
wherever.
was
So
gonna
I
say
thought, right,
I can imagine. I can imagine past you finding that quite traumatizing if you like your
yeah,
cleanliness and all of a sudden you got little
yeah,
things hatching eggs in your on your skin.
yeah. It's not. It's just what's going on in your mind. Like, oh, that's horrible. Anyway, so give me. I got this cream, and it was like a 24-hour cream to like kill the mites, if you will. So I did that, and then after that, they were like, once you've done that, here's some steroids. And I was like, right, cool, blah, blah, blah. And they gave me quite a strong one, which at the time was Betinavate. And I don't think I'd used it or not used it for a long time. And then literally 2 weeks, clear as anything. My skin was just
Mm.
like completely clear, back to normal. I was like, brilliant. I had scabies, it's gone, no problem. But that took like the whole process. So that took like 6 months, and in that 6 months, I really struggled. I'd had time off work, just different things. And now looking back, I don't think I had scabies. I think I was going through topical steroid withdrawal, and
Mm.
then obviously got back on steroids, and then from there up until last March, that that's what I did. Um, so I already knew. I think by then I already knew what topical steroid withdrawal was. I started to see it pop up everywhere, and started to do a bit of research and the symptoms, and I thought, yeah, it all makes sense. This, and then it was actually last January, so just before the lockdown started. My sister sent. I've got a sister who lives in Australia. She sent me a post of a girl who was decided to coming off steroids, going through a topical steroid withdrawal, and she looked quite bad. And anyway, I messaged her on Instagram, and I said, "Oh, how are you doing? Blah blah blah." Which a lot of people in the TSW community, they seem very close. They all message each other just to get by. And I was telling her how much I use steroids and blah blah, and she said, "You definitely got an addiction. Like if you come off it, you'll probably go through TSW." And I was like, right. But I knew in my mind, I thought, I can't do this. But I know I can't go to work, do the stuff that I'm interested in, the stuff that I enjoy, sports and stuff, whilst going through this. I thought there's just no way. So I'm not going to do it. I just can't do it. And then it was when the lockdown started in March, so when we get to March, that'll be my first year. I don't know what it was. Just something in my mind just said, just try it. Just come off them. I think I tried a couple of weeks before to maybe wean off them, and I just ended up putting them on every day. So I was like, right, just come off them, see what happens. And I just took this plunge, which you'll know about and everyone else will know about. And then since then, I've not been on, I've not used anything. So for me, it was, I knew what the right thing was. I kind of knew what I was, prepared to go through. But because of the lockdown, I thought, right, it's now or never. Like I was off work furlough, so I thought I've got 3 months to just groove it out. And to be fair, at the time, I thought, 3 months, it's going to be tough. I'll get through it. And obviously, it's not like that. It's more than you imagine. But to be fair, if I didn't have them 3 months off work, I won't be here now. I won't be here this far into TSW because I probably would have given up. So I was quite fortunate in that sense. Obviously, lockdown, everyone's, people are going through very difficult times. And obviously we're going through difficult times, but it was a bit of a blessing in disguise because it gave me that time to take the initial plunge to stop using them.
Yeah, and that's another one is I find the first time if people are on steroids and then they see something about TSW when they see pictures and they're like, oh, bloody hell, that looks as bad as it is, worse than it is now. And you see a lot of people in like Facebook groups and they say, oh, I really want to stop using the steroids, but just seeing the photos, how can you show someone photos of skin that's 10 times worse as yours whilst you're on steroids and say, you need to come off them, they're damaging you. But and
I think I will have seen all the pictures you've seen, and these are people that I speak to now, and so bad, and I was like, no way I can do that, blah blah blah. Everyone's not the same though, so I mean, in some ways, I'm very grateful because I don't think I've really suffered as bad as some have, people that I do speak to. So in that way, I'm grateful. It doesn't necessarily mean that my journey's been any less difficult, because believe me, it's been difficult. But I think when any advice to anyone who maybe watches this or researches TSW and stuff like that, and they're just scared to go to do it because of what they see. Everyone's path, everyone's journey is different. You might not be anywhere near as bad as some of the pictures you see, but you'll always see the bad pictures because people want to emphasize how potentially dangerous they are. And at the beginning as well, I mean, I was non-stop on my phone, on Facebook groups, on Instagram groups, researching. And I was just like, I love researching. I love knowing stuff about the body. It's really interesting. But it gets very, very overwhelming. And even my partner was like, "You're reading too much into it. Like, like you're getting too invested in it. It's going to make you worse." Blah blah. And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm doing blah blah blah." And now, to be fair, quite a lot of the time, I don't post as much as I did. When I see stuff about it on like social media, sometimes I just scroll past it because I just think, today's not today. I want to get my head into it, because if you get into it too much, it can probably hinder you. You're just applying more stress, and as we know, stress is probably one of the worst things for it. Anyone who's looking to get, possibly take this plunge, just don't get your head into it too much. Don't try and relate to other people's journey, because yours will be completely different. I mean, that's what I did. I was like, right, I looked at this person, right, it took them 2 years, brilliant, 2 years, I'm going to be done. it's not necessarily true. Some people take less, some people take longer, some people are still going through it 5-6 years. So I never at the beginning I thought, right, it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 max. Now I don't really put a date on it. I'll just let it do what it wants to do. So
Yeah, and that's one is how do you really share, bring awareness out about it? Because you go through two routes. You either say, right, let's put out all the horrible pictures and the worst possible pictures you can find to show doctors and show the world that how potentially dangerous they are, which I agree with. If you want to get out that people need to understand how dangerous steroids are, that's what you need to do. But for the people that are already on them, you have to go a different route, because if you show them the pictures you're showing to the doctors, you're never going to get them off, and
yeah,
it's just going to be that vicious cycle of continually using them. And on putting a date on, like you said, you look at 6 months, you see someone else putting 12. I think that's one of the things I wish I didn't do. Was I was looking at stories, I was on Insta, and I was looking at how long it took to recover, and that's what I was focused on, recovery timeline. How long did it take? And the more you kind of set a date out, like, right, yeah, this time next year it'll be summer, and I'll be sorted. I'll be able to go on holiday with my mates, and everything will be all right. And I wish I never did that, because once I got to that year mark and it was still kind of there, I was like, oh no,
I think with that it's so it's normal. It's normal to think like that. I think you wouldn't be a human being if you didn't think like that. But you're also setting yourself up for failure straight away, because you're putting a date on something that, as you know, doesn't happen. So as you're getting closer to that, let's say 1 year mark, and you're expecting to be done, you're going to be in a negative headspace because you thought I'll be done by now. So yeah, you do set yourself up for failure. I think if you put a date on anything, you just kind of got to let it do what it's going to do.
Yeah, it just ups stress as well.
Oh yeah,
Like, and that's a big one. Is stress. The more you stress out about things, and I never used to think this. I just thought, medication or something else externally, it just needs to be that. But it's crazy what stress can do to people if it's not with your skin. Like sleep, I know
yeah,
a lot of other people that when they get so stressed out they don't sleep, and that has its whole other set of issues.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just
I
a
think
nasty.
stress. Your body's all once into TSW, your body's already under so much stress that you don't see internally. It's under so much stress. It's working so hard to try and fix this problem, and the more you stress yourself about it, it's just not going to work. I mean, that's a lot easier said than done, as you'll know. I still stress about it. I still get stressed out and stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, before TSW, I'm a pretty laid back person. Like, do what I need to do. Not really like much of a stress person. But kind of now think, well, that's because it was kind of suppressed. I had nothing to stress about, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then when you start going through TSW, all these factors come up. So, as you said, sleep. There's so many things that will impact TSW: sleep, your work life, your mental health, your relationships. There's so much that, and then it just becomes one after another, and you kind of, it just becomes on top of you. It's about trying to manage that, which I still struggle with now. So
Yeah. And I was gonna say something now. I was gonna say